The suitcase weighs more than it should. Caleb's fingers lock around the leather handle, knuckles white against brown skin. His arms shake. Not from cold, though the November wind cuts through his too thin jacket like it's made of tissue paper. Not from fear, though his heart hammers against his ribs so hard he can feel it in his throat. From weight, the kind that has nothing to do with pounds. He stands outside Precinct 12 on a Wednesday morning, watching suits rush past on their way to offices where the carpet costs more than his entire block. They don't look at him. People never do. He's learned to move through the world like a shadow, small enough to slip between the cracks, quiet enough to disappear. But right now, disappearing feels impossible. The suitcase sits beside his worn sneakers, mud still clinging to the cracked soles. His jeans are stiff with yesterday's dirt. His jacket sleeves stop 2 inches above his wrists because he's grown and nobody noticed. 8 years old and already carrying things that don't belong to him. Hi, friend. Before we continue the story, kindly tell us where are you watching from. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that inspire. Because the next one might change how you see the world. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. Your story matters too. A cop walks past the glass doors. Caleb's chest tightens. His hand moves to the zipper, fingers tracing the metal teeth. He could walk away right now. Turn around and drag this thing back to the alley 8 where he found it. Nobody knows he's here. Nobody saw him make the 20-minute trek from Soho, hauling something almost as big as himself through streets that smell like money and fresh bread and everything his stomach's been empty for. He pictures his mother's face this morning, the way she crumpled against the kitchen counter without a sound, like her body just gave up pretending it was fine. The doctor's words still buzz in his head like wasps trapped in a jar. Untreated. That word followed them everywhere. Untreated pain, untreated illness, untreated people who don't matter enough to save. His little sister had watched from the doorway, 6 years old with eyes too big for her face, holding her stuffed rabbit by one ear. She didn't cry. Crying costs energy they don't have. The suitcase handle digs into his palm. Inside are stacks of bills. He'd only opened it halfway in the alley, just enough to see. Enough to know this wasn't dropped by accident. This was hidden, left somewhere nobody should look. And he looked anyway. His mind does the math it's learned to do since he was 5. Rent, medicine, heat that actually works. Food that isn't 3 days past the date stamped on the package. A winter coat that fits. Shoes without holes. A future where his mother doesn't have to choose between electricity and eating. The precinct doors slide open. A woman in uniform steps out, coffee in hand, radio crackling on, her hip. She glances at him. Not the way adults usually do, with that quick flicker of pity before they look away. She actually stops. You okay, sweetheart? Caleb's throat closes. Words pile up behind his teeth but won't come out. He's not okay. Nobody in his family has been okay for years, but saying that out loud feels like breaking a rule he can't name. His hand tightens on the suitcase. The officer's eyes drop to it, then back to his face. Something shifts in her expression. You need help with something? He should say no. Should drag this thing back to Brooklyn and bury it under his bed and pretend he never saw what's inside. Should take what the universe dropped in his lap and stop asking questions. But his mother's voice lives in his head, steady and unmovable as concrete. If we lose our honesty, we lose everything. She'd said it last winter when the landlord left an envelope of cash on their counter by mistake. 2 months' rent just sitting there. They'd been 4 days from eviction. His sister was coughing so hard at night she couldn't sleep. His mother had walked that money back upstairs within an hour. Caleb had asked why. She'd looked at him with eyes so tired they seemed gray instead of brown. Because if we take what isn't ours, we become people I don't recognize. The officer is still waiting. Caleb swallows, forces his voice out. I found something. The words crack in the middle. He sounds like a baby, like someone who doesn't know how the world works. 8 years old and still dumb enough to think doing the right thing means anything when you're poor. The officer crouches down, her knees popping. She's older up close. Lines around her eyes, a scar on her chin. What did you find? Caleb's hands shake as he pulls the suitcase forward. His fingers find the zipper. What would you have done? The hospital smelled like bleach and broken promises. Caleb had learned that smell young. It clung to his mother's uniform when she came home from her second job, scrubbing floors in the cancer ward over on Amsterdam Avenue. She'd collapse on the couch still wearing her scrubs, too exhausted to shower, hands cracked and red from chemicals that stripped skin down to raw. This morning, she'd been the one on the floor. He'd been pouring cereal, watered-down milk because they were stretching the gallon to last till Friday. His sister, Amara, was still asleep in the corner they'd curtained off with a bedsheet. Their basement apartment had 2 rooms, one for everything, one for nothing. The sound his mother made wasn't loud, just a soft thump, like a book falling. Caleb turned. She was crumpled against the counter, one hand pressed to her side, eyes squeezed shut. Her breath came thin and fast, like she'd been running. But she'd only been standing, trying to leave for work, trying to survive another day. He dropped the cereal box. Milk splattered across the linoleum. "Mama." She didn't answer, just stayed folded, against the cabinets, face twisted in a way that made his stomach drop. He'd seen her tired, seen her frustrated, seen her cry exactly once. The night his father's phone number stopped working and she realized he wasn't coming back. But he'd never seen her look defeated. Not until today. The ER intake nurse had dead eyes and a voice like gravel. She'd asked questions Caleb didn't know how to answer. Insurance, primary care physician, medical history. Words that meant nothing when you live in a place where the faucet spits brown water and the heat only works if you hit the radiator with a wrench. Eventually, a doctor came. Young, tired. He spoke to Caleb like he was the adult in the room, probably because his mother couldn't sit up straight without wincing. How long has she been in pain? Caleb didn't know. Months, maybe. She never said. Mothers like his don't complain. They just keep moving until their bodies quit. She needs tests, the doctor said. Blood work, imaging. Follow up with a specialist. Caleb nodded like he understood. The doctor's pen hovered over a clipboard. His voice dropped just a little, enough to make it sound like a secret. Do you have coverage? Caleb knew what that meant. Money. It always meant money. His mother's voice rasped from the exam table. We'll manage. She said it the way she always did. Flat. Final. Like speaking the words into existence made them true. But Caleb saw the doctor's face, saw the way his jaw tightened, the way he glanced at the door like he wanted to leave before the conversation got harder. There are programs, the doctor said carefully. Community health centers. Sliding scale fees. Translation. Charity. His mother's mouth pressed into a line. She hated that word. Hated the paperwork. Hated the waiting rooms full of people who looked just like her, all holding the same hope that someone would care enough to help. We'll manage, she repeated. The doctor nodded, scribbled something, left. Caleb sat in the plastic chair beside the bed, hands clenched in his lap. Amara was still at home. A neighbor was watching her, an old woman from upstairs who smelled like cats and kept the TV on too loud. They'd have to pay her back somehow. Another debt in a pile that never shrank. His mother's hand found his. Her skin felt papery, cold. You're a good boy, Caleb. He didn't feel good. He felt helpless, like watching a pot boil over and having no way to turn off the heat. I'm gonna fix this, he said. Her eyes opened, just a sliver. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't do anything stupid." But stupid was all he had left. After they discharged her, sent home with a prescription they couldn't afford, and instructions to rest that meant nothing when rent was due in 9 days, Caleb walked her back to the apartment. She leaned on him the whole way, her weight pressing down like the sky was falling. Inside, Amara was asleep on the couch, curled around her rabbit. The neighbor had left a note asking for $12. $12 they didn't have. His mother sank onto the bed, didn't bother taking off her shoes. "I need you to go to the store," she said. "Get bread. Peanut butter if there's enough." She pressed a crumpled 10 into his hand. That was it. $10. The last of what they had until her next paycheck, if she could work, if her body didn't give out first. Caleb took the money, walked out into the cold. He had no plan, no scheme, just a $10 bill in a city that didn't care if he disappeared. He cut through the alley near the Soho Hotel because it was faster, because the sidewalks were crowded with people who'd shove past him without looking, because he was tired of being invisible and broke at the same time. That's when he saw it. Brown leather, upright, clean. A suitcase that didn't belong in an alley. Would you have walked past it? The suitcase sits against the brick like it's waiting. Caleb stops 3 feet away. His sneakers scuff against wet pavement. Steam rises from a grate nearby, carrying the smell of roasted nuts and garbage. The alley is narrow, tucked between a hotel with gold-trimmed doors and a restaurant where a single plate costs more than his mother makes in a week. Nobody's around. He glances over his shoulder. The street beyond buzzes with morning traffic. Taxis, delivery trucks. People in long coats holding phones to their ears, voices sharp and impatient. None of them look his way. He's a shadow again. Invisible. His heart kicks against his ribs. The suitcase isn't old. The leather's smooth, barely scuffed. No tags, no stickers. It's the kind of thing someone carries onto a plane in first class, the kind that gets loaded into car trunks by men in gloves. Why is it here? Caleb's fingers twitch. He should walk away. Keep going to the corner store, buy bread with the $10, go home. Pretend he never saw this. But his feet don't move. He steps closer. The zipper gleams in the dull light. His hand reaches out, stops, reaches again. The leather feels cold under his palm. Expensive. Real. He looks around one more time. Still nobody. His thumb hooks under the zipper pull. It slides open smooth, no resistance. The sound is louder than it should be, a metallic hiss that makes his shoulders tense. He opens it halfway. His breath stops. Stacks. Neat banded stacks of bills. 20s, 50s, hundreds. More than he's ever seen outside a movie. They're crisp, clean, edges perfectly aligned. No loose change, no receipts. Just money. So much money it doesn't look real. His brain stutters, tries to count, stops, starts again. Rent is $2,000 a month. They're behind 3 months. That's $6,000. His mother's prescriptions. Another few hundred. Sinats, heat. Food. Amara's asthma inhaler she's been stretching for 2 weeks. His hands shake. This could fix everything. He imagines walking into the apartment with this, setting it on the kitchen table, watching his mother's face as she realizes they're not drowning anymore, that for once the universe gave instead of taking. But even as the fantasy plays out, another voice cuts through. Whose money is this? Not yours. He zips it halfway shut. His fingers are numb. He can't tell if it's from cold or fear or something else he doesn't have a name for. Someone left this here on purpose. Hidden. The alley's a service entrance. Cameras probably point at the hotel doors, but not here. Not in the gap between buildings where people dump trash and rats scatter when you walk past. Whoever owns this didn't lose it. They stashed it, which means they're coming back. Caleb's stomach twists. He steps back, hands up like the suitcase might bite. His mind races through scenarios. Drugs, crime, Something bad enough that carrying this much cash makes sense. He's seen enough TV to know people don't leave money lying around unless it's dirty. And dirty money comes with consequences. But his mother's face flashes in his head again. The way she looked this morning, crumpled and small and so tired. What if this is the only chance they get? His hands hover over the zipper. He could take it, drag it home, hide it, use a little at a time. Nobody has to know. He's good at being invisible. He could stay invisible with money in his pocket, except he can't, because the voice in his head isn't his, it's hers. His mother last winter handing back the landlord's cash even though they had nothing. Even though keeping it would have been easy. If we lose our honesty, we lose everything. At the time, he hadn't understood. Now he does. This suitcase isn't a gift. It's a test. He closes it fully. The zipper hisses shut. His hands find the handle, grip it tight. It's heavier than he expected. He has to use both hands, leaning back to balance the weight. His arms burn, his shoulders ache, but he drags it forward. One step, then another. The mouth of the alley opens onto the street. Sun breaks through the clouds, sharp and cold. Caleb squints. A man in a suit walks past, phone pressed to his ear, leather shoes clicking on concrete. He doesn't glance down. Caleb keeps moving. What's inside a person that makes them choose the hard road? The suitcase scrapes against the sidewalk. Caleb's arms scream. His fingers lock around the handle so tight his knuckles ache. He's been dragging this thing for 3 blocks, and every muscle in his body wants to quit. Sweat sticks his shirt to his back despite the cold. His breath comes short and fast, but he doesn't stop. Around him the city moves like it always does. Fast, loud, indifferent. A woman in heels nearly trips over him, shoots him a glare, keeps walking. A taxi honks. Somewhere a siren wails. Nobody helps. Nobody asks if he's okay. He's just another kid in a too small jacket, hauling something too heavy, trying to survive in a place that doesn't care. His mind won't shut up. You could still turn around. The thought loops, relentless. He could drag this back to the alley, leave it where he found it, walk away clean. Nobody would know. Nobody would care, except him and her. His mother's voice again, threading through his exhaustion like smoke under a door. If we take what isn't ours, we become people I don't recognize. He'd been 6 when she said it the first time. They'd been at the laundromat, the one with the broken change machine that sometimes spit out extra quarters. A man had left a $20 bill on top of a dryer, just lying through his exhaustion like smoke under a door. If we take what isn't ours, we become people I don't recognize. He'd been 6 when she said it the first time. They'd been at the laundromat, the one with the broken change machine that sometimes spit out extra quarters. A man had left a $20 bill on top of a dryer, just lying there. Forgotten. Caleb had grabbed it, excited. $20 was groceries. Was the electric bill? Was something other than nothing. His mother had taken it from his hand without a word, walked it to the front desk, waited while they called the man back. Caleb had been furious, still was sometimes when he let himself think about it. But she'd crouched down after, her hands on his shoulders, her eyes level with his. People will try to take from us our whole lives, baby. Our time, our dignity, our hope. We can't stop that. But we can control what we take from others. And the second we start stealing, we lose the only thing they can't touch. Who we are. He hadn't understood then. He does now. The suitcase catches on a crack in the sidewalk. Caleb stumbles, nearly drops it. His shoulder slams into a lamppost. Pain shoots down his arm. He bites his lip. Tastes blood. Keeps going. A coffee shop window reflects his image as he passes. Small, dirty, dragging something almost as big as himself. He looks like a kid playing pretend, like someone who doesn't belong in this neighborhood where everything's shiny and new and untouched by the kind of poverty that leaves permanent marks. But he's not pretending. This is real. The money is real. The choice is real. He thinks about his sister, Amara, who shares his cereal even when there's not enough, who gave him half her blanket last winter when the heat cut off, who draws pictures of houses with 2 floors and backyards even though she's never lived anywhere that wasn't underground. What would she think if she knew he had this? Would she tell him to keep it? Or would she look at him the way his mother does when she's disappointed? That quiet, heavy look that feels worse than yelling. His feet slow. Ahead, the precinct sits like a squat gray block. Concrete, small windows, an American flag snapping in the wind. People go in and out. Cops, civilians, lawyers in suits carrying briefcases that probably cost more than the suitcase he's dragging. Caleb stops at the corner. His chest heaves, his hands shake. This is it. Last chance to turn around. He closes his eyes, sees his mother's face this morning, the way her body folded, the way the doctor's pen hovered over the clipboard like a verdict. Untreated. He could fix that. Right now. Open the suitcase. Take enough to cover her bills. Leave the rest. Who would know? Who would care? But the answer rises fast and sharp. You would. His eyes open. He drags the suitcase forward. 1 step, 2, 3. The precinct doors slide open. Air-conditioned air hits his face, smelling like coffee and paper and something chemical he can't name. A cop glances up from behind a desk. Bored. Tired. She's got graying hair pulled back tight. Lines around her mouth like she's spent years frowning. Caleb's voice comes out smaller than he wants. I found something. The cop's eyes flick to the suitcase, back to his face. Something shifts in her expression. She stands. Can doing the right thing feel this wrong? The walk to the precinct feels longer than it is. Caleb's legs are numb. His arms feel like they're being pulled from their sockets. The suitcase scrapes and bumps over every crack, every uneven slab of concrete. He passes a bakery. Warm air drifts out, smelling like butter and sugar. His stomach clenches. He hasn't eaten since yesterday. The $10 his mother gave him is still folded in his pocket. Bread and peanut butter. That was the plan. Simple. Survivable. Now he's dragging a fortune through lower Manhattan and his body's screaming at him to stop. But he doesn't. A man in a tailored coat walks past, leather bag slung over one shoulder. His watch catches the light. Gold. The kind that costs more than Caleb's entire life. He doesn't even glance down. Caleb's used to that. Being invisible has its advantages. Nobody stops him. Nobody asks questions. He's just another poor kid in a city full of them. Wallpaper. Background noise. Except this time, invisible feels like armor. A bus hisses past, brakes squealing. The suitcase jolts in his grip. He nearly loses it. His hands cramp around the handle, fingers stiff and aching. He adjusts his grip. Keeps moving. Ahead, the street opens into a wider plaza. Office buildings rise on both sides, glass and steel reflecting clouds. People pour out of subway entrances like ants from a kicked hill. Everyone's moving fast, phones out, faces blank. Caleb moves slower. Each step feels heavier than the last. His mind keeps circling back. What if he's wrong? What if keeping the money isn't stealing? What if it's just survival? People throw away stuff all the time. Clothes, food, furniture left on curbs with signs that say, free. Why not money? Except he knows why. Money's never free, especially not this much. He passes a jewelry store. The window display sparkles, diamonds on black velvet, rings that could buy his entire building. A security guard stands inside, arms crossed, watching the door. Watching for people like Caleb. People who don't belong. His jaw tightens. He drags the suitcase past without looking again. 2 blocks left. A woman with a stroller stops at the crosswalk beside him. Her baby's bundled in a puffy coat, face barely visible. The woman's got headphones in, scrolling her phone. She doesn't notice when the suitcase bumps her stroller wheel. Caleb mumbles an apology. She doesn't hear. The light changes. She crosses. He follows, his vision starting to blur at the edges. Not from tears, from exhaustion, from hunger, from the weight of carrying something that could change everything and choosing not to. A cop car rolls past, slow. Caleb's heart jumps. He freezes, but the car keeps going. The officers inside don't even look. He exhales, keeps walking. 1 block. The precinct's in sight now. The flag above it snaps in the wind. Red, white, blue, faded from weather. He can see the doors, the steps leading up, his feet slow. This is real. Once he walks in there, he can't take it back. Once he hands it over, the money's gone. The chance is gone. His mother stays sick. The rent stays unpaid. Amara keeps sleeping in a corner with a bedsheet for a wall. Nothing changes. Except him. He stops at the bottom of the steps. The suitcase sits beside his feet. Heavy. Final. His hands are shaking so hard he shoves them in his pockets. A man comes out of the precinct. Uniform, badge. He glances at Caleb, pauses, then heads down the street. Caleb watches him go. He thinks about his father. The man who left without a word. Who decided being a parent was too hard. Who chose himself over them. Caleb's 8. He's not supposed to understand things like that. But he does. He understands that people leave. People take. People choose the easy way even when it breaks everyone around them. And he understands he doesn't want to be that. Not now, not ever. He picks up the suitcase, climbs the steps. The doors slide open. Cold air rushes out. A woman behind the desk looks up, and Caleb realizes there's no going back. What's heavier? Money or the weight of who you choose to be? The phone won't stop ringing. Rowan Blackwell ignores it. His office overlooks Central Park, 43 floors up, where the noise of the city becomes a distant hum. The view costs $7 million a year. Floor-to-ceiling glass. Leather chairs. A desk made from reclaimed walnut that some designer swore came from a monastery in Portugal. None of it matters right now. The suitcase is gone. His assistant stands in the doorway, tablet clutched to her chest like a shield. She's been with him 6 years. Knows when to talk. Knows when to stay quiet. Right now, she's quiet. Rowan's fingers drum against the desk. Once. Twice. He stops. Drumming shows nerves. Nerves show weakness. In his world, weakness gets you eaten alive. "Tell me again," he says. His voice is calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that makes people sweat. The assistant swallows. The courier said he left it at the service entrance. Hotel protocol. He waited 10 minutes. Nobody came. He assumed, Rowan's jaw tightens. $100,000 and he assumed. She doesn't respond. Smart. Rowan stands. His suit is charcoal gray, tailored so perfectly it moves like a second skin. He crosses to the window. Below, the park spreads out like a green wound in the concrete. People jog, walk dogs, live small lives with small problems. He used to be one of them. Grew up in Detroit, South Side, the kind of neighborhood where gunshots were background music and corner stores had bulletproof glass. His mother cleaned houses for families who wouldn't let her use the front door. His father drank himself to death before Rowan turned 12. He'd clawed his way out. College on scholarships. Law school on loans. Wall Street through sheer force of will. Built an empire by being smarter, faster, meaner than everyone else. And now some courier lost a suitcase that could destroy everything. The deal in Washington needs that money. Not for bribes. Rowan doesn't do bribes, leverage, proof of funds, a show of commitment that can't be traced back through banks and wire transfers and federal investigators who love nothing more than taking down men like him. His rival, Victor Hale, is circling, waiting for Rowan to slip, to fail, to prove he's just another kid from the hood who got lucky. Ha, Hale's different. Old money, prep schools, a last name that opens doors. Rowan has to kick down, and Hale's been buying up properties in Brooklyn, low-income housing, rent-controlled buildings, places where families like Rowan's used to live. Hale doesn't renovate, he empties, forces people out, flips the buildings for triple the profit. Legal, cold, effective, and Rowan's been trying to stop him for 6 months. The Washington deal would have done it. A coalition of investors, community development funds, a way to buy the properties first and keep families housed. But without the cash to prove he's serious, the deal dies. And Hale wins. Rowan's phone buzzes. He glances at the screen, a text from his lawyer. Hale's people are asking questions. We need to move fast. His thumb hovers over the keyboard. He doesn't reply. The assistant clears her throat. The hotel's reviewing security footage, and the courier filed a report with the police. Rowan turns. He called the police. Standard procedure for lost. I don't care about standard procedure. His voice cuts like glass. I care about getting that suitcase back before someone opens it and decides to become a millionaire. The assistant's face pales. She nods. Leaves. Rowan returns to the window. The city stretches out below him. Buildings, streets, lives packed so tight you can't tell where one ends and another begins. He controls pieces of it, owns floors in buildings, shares in companies, influence that moves like electricity through hidden wires. But right now, he controls nothing. Somewhere out there, a suitcase full of cash is floating loose. Could be in a dumpster, could be on a bus to Newark, could be in the hands of someone smart enough to disappear. His phone rings again. This time he answers. Mr. Blackwell? The voice is young. Official. This is Officer Renee Graves, NYPD. We have your suitcase. Rowan's hand tightens on the phone. Where? Precinct 12, Lower Manhattan. You'll need to come in and verify ownership. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He ends the call, grabs his coat. His mind's already moving. Verification. Questions. Paperwork. He'll have his lawyer meet him. Keep it clean. Keep it quiet. But as he heads for the elevator, one thought keeps circling. Who found it? And why did they turn it in? Can a man who's spent his life taking finally learn to give? The precinct smells like burnt coffee and old paper. Rowan walks in, expecting bureaucracy. Forms. Delays. The usual dance of proving he is who he says he is to people who don't care. His lawyer trails behind him, briefcase in hand, already running through the script. Verify identity, sign documents, leave. Simple. Except nothing about today has been simple. Officer Graves meets them at the desk. She's older than